Sounds legit. Uh, do we have to continue? Continue. Okay.
You ready, Megan?
Yeah, let's do this. All right. Afternoon, middle school people. So glad you guys are here. Welcome to the first ever Middle School Mondays. You are joining Colorado middle level educators and beyond for 30 minutes of laughter, hopefully, and some learning today and on the last Monday of each month. And live, we're live. So I'm Megan Fruvellhoff. Over here is the man, Chris Frank. And together we're going to be bringing the best teacher hacks, timely tips, best practices from educators across Colorado. So I just invite all of us to just take a deep breath and let go of whatever this Monday was for all of us. So here we go. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Chris, tell us about yourself.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Frank, and I've been so fortunate to work in Colorado's finest middle schools for about 12 years. So hopefully I'm going to bring some good stuff to you today and each month. So a little bit about myself. I've worked in middle schools my whole career, and one of the best moments or memories I have of really that captures being a middle school person was I was a seventh grade teacher at one point, and I was teaching a lesson on plate tectonics and really trying to get the kids jazzed about something that maybe they weren't really jazzed about. And I was trying to teach kids that the continents move over the top of the plates. And when plates move, that moves the continents above them. And so to model that, I jumped up on a desk. And I jumped up on it to get kids excited. And I was teaching them what would happen when the desk moved. And when the desk moved, it moved me right into a ceiling fan that was right behind me, hit my head on the desk. The kids went dead silent for a few minutes. And the first laugh was mine. And then, of course, we all got a good laugh out of it. And kids remember that to today. So that's a little bit about me. I've been a middle school educator my whole career. And Megan, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Megan Fruvellhoff, also known as Fru. Normally, I don't have this amazing voice, but I was kind of feeling left out with the whole COVID thing and decided I would get it this weekend. And I honestly can't think of anything more perfect than the inaugural Middle School Mondays than to have one of the co-hosts have COVID and be at home. Because if this doesn't define what the education world is, I don't know what does. So yeah, about me, I'm also 12 years in the education world. Literally feel like I have the best job ever. I get to work with teachers and admin and parents and students and just help them build their resilience. And honestly, it's just like the best job ever. Okay, my funny story. This was a while ago, sixth grade boys. I had been approached by some teachers and admin of like, hey, Megan, we've got some boys that are having some anger stuff. Would you consider running an anger group? I'm like, sure, why not? And so I think I had like 6 boys in there. I think within the first 3.5 minutes, all the boys were in a completely huge argument. Some had left because they were so mad. Others were just yelling at each other. I think that was the last time I ever did an anger management group. Clearly have a lot to learn there.
Didn't go so well, huh?
Not so much.
All right. Well, you know what? That really captures kind of what we're going to be doing. This whole series is really just about what it means to be a middle level educator. We're going to hopefully have some laughs about those little moments that all bond us all as middle school people, really, and also get into some of that instructional magic that happens in middle schools. I know a lot of people wasn't always their plan to be in a middle school, but the people that are in middle schools really get that it's all about the relationships and some of that magic that kind of comes along. So we're going to start out with some funny stuff here. And so Megan's going to kick us off with the random funny things, random toys that aren't actually toys.
Yeah. So we were just chatting and I think our principal, Sandy Heiser, tends to like put these really funny photos in our newsletter that we get. And I was like, ooh, we got to start out with this. So yeah, this is Middle School Mondays, toys that are in fact not toys, edition number 1. So our first one is fruits and vegetables. I feel like you can talk to any custodian and they would give you way more fruits and vegetables to add to the list. Like I should probably have grapes and kiwis on here. Next up is Edward Banana Hands. Fun fact about this student is he loves Edward Scissorhands, and therefore he creates anything possible to give the same effect. This day he happened to choose bananas.
I call that innovation. That's innovation.
Right? Here we have our aquatic explorers. This is what is known as the puddle. And you can splash in it. You can splash others, which is really fun. And especially when it's muddy, it's the best toy ever. Fast forward to the winter time. Now you can become Arctic explorers. They love to play that whole King of the Hill game and who can stay on top. Doesn't matter who falls and hits their head. Doesn't matter. It's a great one.
It literally takes nothing for middle schoolers to get a laugh out of it, right?
For sure. Okay, the easiest way to take a class off task, the light switch. And this, Chris, was not mine. This was actually an 8th grader's. I was telling him about what we were going to do. And I'm like, hey, what are some toys on Art Toys? He's immediately like, a light switch. I'm like, yes, good call. Okay. Our next one is the can for everything. Could be a trash can, but you can also fit people in there, which is pretty special sometimes.
Turns out it's been a hiding spot once or twice.
Yeah, totally. All right. Double masked. I mean, better be safe, right?
This is not quite the CDC protocol.
Yeah, for sure. And then our last one. So this is what is known as the substitute student. I mean, we have substitute teachers all over the place these days, and why not have some substitute students there? What is going on, by the way? What is this?
This is middle schoolers innovation. That's what I'm saying, innovation. It takes very little to get middle schoolers excited, right? I think there's some drum mallets over there from a band class, maybe.
That's amazing. So yeah, there's your first edition of toys that are in fact not toys.
We've all gotten the response when you tell people that you work in a middle school, and you tell people you might be at a dinner party, you might be meeting somebody, and you say something about you work in a middle school, and the reaction that we've all got is something along the lines of bless you, or my goodness, I couldn't do that, right? And what people don't really see is really that relational and instructional expertise that all people have in our middle school. So we're going to really highlight all of that by learning from some of the top educators across the state as they share their stories, tips, and tricks. And so what we're going to have is a hack each series where we can learn from somebody across the state and really hear their journey about what it's meant to be a middle school teacher, educator, and hopefully learn something along the way. So our first one up, Sandy's going to go ahead and cue that one up, is Andy Freeman and Dan Kribbe to share a little bit about their journey. Also, as we're getting started, if you have things to put in the chat, please do so. We'd love to interact with you all.
Hey, Sandy, I'm not hearing it. Are you, Chris?
Nope, I'm not hearing you, Sandy.
I wonder if Sandy muted herself and now she muted her computer. It could happen.
I wonder if Sandy muted herself, even though we practiced not to do that.
All good.
I was going to have to do the voiceover and I forgot part of it. So I was just ready to wing it. We were going to go for it.
I was thinking that like a light switch, the mute button could also be a toy. Do you know what I mean?
Chris, do you have any jokes?
I don't think so.
I do. I have one.
Okay, what do you got?
What did the school custodian say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies! It's a favorite one. I don't know any other jokes, but that's my one.
That's good.
We're going. Do you want to
All
start?
right.
Sure. Hi, you guys. My name is Dan Kribbe.
And I'm Andy Freeman.
I've been teaching teaching for 27 years, and all of those have been at the middle level. And still look forward to work every single day. I've never not looked forward to a day. What about you, Andy? How long have you been at this?
This is my 13th year. So I started in 2009, straight out of student teaching.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm at the same school that I student taught at, and I'm also at the same school that I went to middle school for, which is pretty cool that I get to do this right now because, Dan, you were one of my teachers. I had you for 8th grade math and science.
Yeah, how crazy is that? Andy and I have known each other for more than 20 years, and that relationship started as Andy being a student in one of my classes, and now we're peers and we're friends, and we share this journey together, and that's pretty cool.
It's been a lot of fun. It's something special too. I know not everybody maybe gets to do that, so I feel like I'm pretty fortunate in that regard. Dan, do you want to hear a joke?
I'd love to hear a joke, Mr. Freeman. You can take it away.
Okay. This one just kind of happened today. So let's say trying it out, but I love it because I got one laugh, just one.
Okay. Better than no laughs.
Well, you'll see. So we're doing order of operations. Okay, talking about parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. So what do you call a set of parentheses inside another set of parentheses?
No say.
Those are your grand parentheses.
That's really good, man.
It was on the fly. It took like 10 seconds for someone to laugh, but they got there.
Nice. That seems like some progress. Good one there, Mr. Freeman. Okay, for whoever's out there watching this, we are thinking that we're talking to middle-level educators from around the state, and we're not trying to teach anybody anything, but maybe trying to just share our perspectives on how we approach our jobs, how we keep our sanity, how we help kids keep theirs, and how we keep things moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So if you can take something away from this, that's great. But if you can't, then we hope that you can laugh with us and just kind of hang with us for a while. So the thing that I've really been kind of playing around with in my mind lately is just being a genuine teacher. And for me, I think that looks like a very relaxed state. I think kids can pick up when I'm trying to force something that I'm maybe not comfortable with. And I think a lot of it comes down to how I interact with students. And I just want that to be my genuine self. So for me, that looks like humor and telling bad jokes and just kind of having that relationship piece.
Cool. Well, that's also been on my mind a lot about the relationship piece. And I've said this to my students quite a bit recently. We can hear our principal come on and do the announcements and say, the reason we come to school is to learn. And I agree with that. Although what we learn is sometimes things that we frame differently. In my world, especially at the middle level, half of what we do is teach kids content and help, or I should say, better help them learn content. But the other half is to teach them about relationships and how to act around other people. So that includes themselves. It includes their peers, it includes their teachers, it includes everybody who they run into in there. And I feel like that's a constant balance going back and forth between those two things. You never know which way that's going to tilt depending on the day.
Exactly. And sometimes I feel like it tilts a little bit more on that second piece. So sometimes content takes the back seat and we talk about those relationships and interactions with each other. What I've been trying to do more of is just saying hi to kids in the hallway. Like when I'm out and about and kind of running errands or going to the copy room or whatever, inevitably there's someone else there. And even if I don't know them, I just want them to feel like they belong here. So I'm just doing more and more of that and trying to learn more names if they're not at my grade level. And I think that just helps them feel welcome.
Makes them feel like I do the same. I say hi to every kid in my first class of the day, and I try to say hi to kids as we go along as well. Sometimes that's harder to do once we get the ball rolling during the day. If I'm walking down the hall, it's a crowd full of people, I'm obviously not stopping and saying hi to everybody. That would be a nuisance in many ways. But if I walk down the hall and there's one kid walking by, I'll say hi, how you doing today? And I think it's important. That's what humans do, is they greet each other. Another thing I like to do is kids will often come up and find me in the morning and they just have some question on their mind and they'll just ask me the question. And I'll refuse to answer their question politely until they say hello to me. So I'll pretend they said hi to me. So I'll be like, good morning, Jesus. And when they came up and said, hey, what core are we supposed to start today? And I'll say, good morning, Jesus. Fine, thank you. How are you? And I'll coax them or prod them. It might be a better way to say that, into saying hello. But that's just also acknowledging that part of that we have a relationship. It's not a pure relationship, right. It's a relationship. And we spend a lot of time with each other every day.
It's being human.
Being human.
Dan, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a piece of advice that you gave me when I was student teaching with you. So you were my cooperating teacher too. I don't know if we mentioned that at the beginning, but it was something that I had written down just like in a notebook, and I've kept that little notebook with me for every room move that I've had and every grade level switch.
There's quite a few.
It's been a few at this point, right? And you told me that I'm not you. And that was probably the biggest, epiphany that I could have had at that moment in time, because I hadn't found who I was as a teacher at that point. So I was maybe trying on a different set of shoes and trying out other people's styles. But you telling me that I'm not necessarily those types of teachers, or even like your style of teaching, really did a lot for me. And that is also what I think about in terms of like that genuine teaching, because I have to figure that out for myself in a lot of ways.
It's very cool. I mean, that's a cool thought and a cool thing for everybody to be reminded of. I think one of the challenges of middle school is this is one of the most dynamic times in the life of a human being. And they're also trying to figure out who they are. Now, of course, that's true of elementary kids and kids who are post middle school and high school or beyond. But I feel like there's no more transformative time than this. And so that goes back to that part about teaching kids how to act and how to be themselves, to help them answer that question. They're having to do things. We talked about that. We hope they leave here being autonomous. Well, of course they're not going to be, but at least we want them to be closer, to be moving closer to being autonomous each day. And when I was talking to some of my students today, and I was telling about us doing this little piece, and that was one of the things that they said, is that one of the biggest that they wanted me to say in this discussion was that this idea of learning how to deal with problems, that occasional setbacks are part of the learning process, that problems are something where they can navigate them and they can, solve sometimes on their own, seek help when they need help. I absolutely love the expression that calm seas do not make skillful sailors. And for most people, middle school is, some fairly challenging seas that they haven't seen before. So I appreciate that advice that they gave those kids gave to me today.
I asked my kids the same thing. This being 6th grade, they came up with, tell us about your favorite student. So for the sake of that, they're all my favorite students. I can't choose just one. And I think that probably does a little bit more of what you were talking about too, is just like knowing that someone cares for them. They want to hear it. I like doing this job a lot. There's nothing I'd rather do.
How many times have you heard, Andy, somebody talking to you and you say you're a middle school teacher and they say something like, God bless you, or you must be nuts, or how do you possibly tolerate all that?
I mean, it happens every time I get my hair cut, often with the same person, like every time. We have to remember the conversation.
I think that's part of it. Is there are people who cut out to be here. Like I definitely don't want to be an elementary school teacher, and I don't want to be a high school teacher. I feel like kids have kind of chosen their path, and I feel like I just love the wave of energy that comes walking through this door every day. And
it's nothing like it.
This is the place for you, and if that's not your nature, then this would be a hard place to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking at our time here, we're about the 10-minute mark. Can I bring up one more thing that I got from you?
Wait, did you say we're at the 10-minute mark already?
Yes, I told you it would go by fast. Good talk, man.
All right, go ahead, Andy.
Okay. So this is just like how I make it through middle school. Probably as a student, although I can't remember as much of the day-to-day, but definitely as a teacher. And it's the expression that I got from you a long time ago, and I'm never going to let it go. Just look for the good. You're going to see the good.
I like it. Yeah, the second half of that is look for the bad and you'll see the bad. It's important to look for both, but hopefully you can always be finding the good. It's easy. The bad finds you, right? You can do that.
Right. Sometimes you don't have to search as hard.
Very cool. You guys, for everybody out there who might be watching us, I want you to know that Andy has been a joy in my life and continues to be. But when we talk about this idea of relationships, we've had a relationship since we met. I mean, Andy was such a positive part of our team when he was an 8th grader that I just felt like a genuine relationship then. And he used to come back and visit sometimes when he was in school. We had a relationship when I was his cooperating teacher and he was the student teacher. We're both colleagues now. We both work in St. Vrain Valley School District, and I'm over at Westview and he's at Longs Peak. So we collaborate when we can or when we need to. We also hang out together and have fun. So it's cool to see the evolution of that relationship, but it starts with building those relationships with the kids who walk through the door every day.
I don't think there's a better message than that.
Cool. Yeah, good to see you, Andy, and thanks for doing this, and thanks for being who you are.
You too, Dan. We'll see ya. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
All right. I just loved how they talked about really that authenticity and how we model for students. And of course, all of us coming out of and still partially in a pandemic, just modeling for each other and for kids, what that relationship means and what it means to be a human being. And, little things that you do in the hallway just to model that every day. Because we know that middle school is rough waters and just by being a human being and connecting human to human is how we, inspire our kids.
Awesome. Well, speaking of genuine, our guest today is one of the most genuine guys I know, Nick Thompson. Him and we started back in 11 years ago together on the St. Vrain journey. Nick, we really wanted to read your whole bio because it's amazing, but we're also running on time. What are your thoughts on that?
We can skip it. Can you hear me?
We skip it. I think we'd rather listen to you talk and do your
Okay. I'll just jump in. My name's Nick. I'm a psychotherapist in Boulder, Colorado. I work mainly with middle school, high school, and college age students. I worked in St. Vrain at Old Columbine High School for 7 years. And now I'm in private practice here and I give presentations, have a podcast, and that's me. I loved that video and sort of this talk, and it made me think of something that during the past few years, checking in with the why has been essential, necessary. And I think in talking to middle school teachers, high school teachers, it's been so important to remind ourselves, what we're doing and why we're doing it. And the thing that's so grounding for me, there's no way I'm going to get even close to what I provided done, but that's okay. Carl Rogers, the father of the humanistic approach, he had something called the 3 core conditions of the therapeutic relationship. Now, while he was talking about counseling or therapy, I think it relates to teaching or parenting or being a mentor in the role of a young person. And those 3 core conditions, one of them we've been talking a lot about was authenticity. He calls it genuineness. The second one was unconditional positive regard. That one, believing in the student, liking something about them. If you don't like them, figure out something you like about them. And then finally, the 3rd core condition was accurate empathy. Having empathy for their situation. In order to get to accurate empathy, we have to be willing to listen. So I've, felt like the past couple of years, there's often times where I'm here in my office and it's at the end of the day and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Kids are struggling more than ever. I don't feel like they're making progress. Is that my fault? Maybe in your world, it's, some of them are struggling to learn. I always bring myself back to those 3 core conditions. Am I being genuine with the people I meet with? Second, do I have unconditional positive regard for them? And finally, Am I listening? Do I care enough to build that accurate empathy? If I'm doing those three things, I'm doing a great job. So I wanted to share that with you as the reminder, if you're ever getting frustrated with progress or questioning your role and purpose and your why. If you're doing those three things, you're doing an incredible job in showing up for young people. So the thing that I wanted to talk about today was sort of this idea of how to use your space, your environment, whether it be your classroom or your office, to spark conversations of importance, to build that relationship. This is based off of my favorite quote when it comes to teaching, counseling, and even parenting. And it comes from James Baldwin. And the quote is, "Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them." So what can you have in your space, in your classroom, in your office, that will spark conversations? Because my experience with adolescents, they're not that interested in our lectures, in our advice, in our pearls of wisdom, but they're quite interested in how we live our lives. So how can we have physical representations of that? So it's not a lecture, instead it's a conversation. So I have some examples. Just ideas, chucking ideas here. In between every session here in this office, I have a 10-minute break. And at the end of the break, I will sit here and open up a random book to a random page. I'm not even really reading it, to be honest. But what I want to do is, while that door is open and the next person comes in, I want them to see a human being reading a book. The whole modeling thing. They might not have anybody in their life who reads books. And so what that does, somebody comes in and goes, "Hey, what are you reading?" Now we're having a conversation about reading or the content. And I get to go, "Do you read?" As opposed to, "You should read. It's good for your intellectual wellness." It sparks a conversation. I leave out healthy things in view, like Edward Banana Hand. What was his name?
Yeah, Edward Banana Hands. I was
Yes.
like, I love you.
So this maybe sparks a conversation. Would you like one? I get to have a conversation about the importance of breakfast. So many young people aren't eating breakfast. I don't feel hungry. Sorry, pal, buckaroo. This one doesn't have to do with hunger. You have to eat breakfast. And you can show them how to break a banana in half. If you curve it up, grip here tightly, and pop, you get two nice little things. That's fun. I have American buffalo everywhere in my office. There's probably 20 of them scattered throughout. When somebody notices that, they'll say, "What's with all the buffalo?" "Oh, you went to CU, you're a Buffs fan." True, but it's also my favorite animal because the buffalo is a very unique animal. It's different than cattle and goats in that when a storm brews over those familiar Rocky Mountains over there and comes down the Front Range and heads down the plains, heads east, cows and goats will turn their butt to the storm and run away. But this is foolish because goats and cows can't outrun the storm. So by moving away from it, they actually experience the storm, the inclement weather for longer than it needs to. They'd be better off standing still. You know what animal doesn't do that?
The buffalo.
The buffalo. The buffalo face the storm and run right towards it because they know a secret. The quicker they move through the mountain, the less they'll experience the inclement weather, the cold, the wind, by moving through it. And that's a great metaphor for life and facing up to our problems and our fear, facing up and moving towards them.
Nick, Cornhuskers go towards the weather too, just so you know. Did you know that?
There's nothing cool about Cornhuskers. Nothing. They used to be called the Bug Eaters, of all things. Their name was the Bug Eaters. Okay. And you don't have the best fan base in the country. Not even close. Focus up, Nick. This is on my board over there. So somebody sees it and goes, "What's with the lighthouse?" It's my favorite quote from my grandfather. When he saw me or my brothers running our mouth, being boastful, being cocky, he would say, "Boys, lighthouses do not fire off cannons to draw attention to their shining. They just shine." Now we're having a conversation about what confidence looks like. It is quiet and it is curious. I don't remember the quote. It was in Ted Lasso, but don't be curious, not judgmental. Somebody could tell me who said that. That's a great quote. I don't know if I have the time for that thing. I've got a pyramid of these in my office that are visible? What's with all the alarm clocks? Well, are you aware of the research that shows if you get your cell phone out of your room, you'll fall asleep quicker, stay asleep, and wake up with less anxiety? I can't because I use my phone as my alarm clock. You're in luck, buddy. You're leaving with one of these. It'll change your life. This just sits in the corner. What is that? It's an ab roller. In between sessions, I need to exercise because I've been diagnosed with something called ADHD. And so for me, exercise, movement breaks is essential for me to sit still and pay attention. What's this awkward looking thing, device? This is a meditation bench. I have to meditate 5 to 10 minutes every day so that I can listen and pay attention to you. If I don't, I have a very difficult time paying attention. Using your room, using it as an opportunity to spark conversations, things that you're passionate about, using them as a way to enter into a conversation that doesn't sound like a lecture, but instead sounds like a conversation. And none of this is done in like a weird flex, like I'm awesome, look at me. No, I need to do these things to ground myself in the moment and be okay and do what I love. Just thinking about how you can use your space, I'm sure you're already doing it, to create great conversations. Thank you.
I love how you're modeling authenticity too, right? That's how you model, being comfortable in who you are. And that definitely gives others the freedom to do so too. I also like how you were commenting on just really getting to know kids and complimenting little things, to start conversations with students. And I think that's probably one of those best tricks and strategies. If you're a teacher out there who's got a couple of, difficult kids that you're not connecting with and you're frustrated with, to take 2 minutes and find something that you like about them. And you can only do that through conversation, right? And not really that teacher student conversation, just human to human conversation. So I love how you said that.
And Nick, can you just show us the book really fast? Just show everyone the book and just one quote or something, please.
Oh, I think another thing is in checking in with the why is you all work with middle schoolers, and some of the beauty is the things that they say. The hilarity, the authenticity comes through in hilarity, and sometimes there's just deep wisdom. So I keep a book, and anytime a young person says something that I want to remember forever, I write it down in this book, and I hope they bury it with me. And I love to revisit it as like why I get to do this is because of the energy, the hilarity, the authenticity of young people. And I just have these quotes. This is from a middle schooler who told me once, "You show up to the gym like a big boy until you are a big boy." That should be a movement. That should be a t-shirt. That's actually based in science, in fake it till you make it. Another middle schooler told me, "I'm lazy, but I'm quite active." I wanted to remember that. Another middle schooler told me, "There's no crashing and burning, there's only learning." One young middle schooler asked me while telling a story, he said, "What's an after school special?" Those are great reminders of just how time changes. This middle schooler told me, "I want a college degree, I just don't want to go to college." Another young person, middle schooler, said, gave me the great advice, "Stay late and ask questions." So maybe a way of reminding yourself of the wisdom, hilarity, authenticity of the young people that you work with and documenting it. And when times get rough, revisiting the why of what you do.
I love that. That is awesome. That is thank you, Nick. Seriously. And we could talk with you forever. You've got all these fun gems. But we're like over time already. I don't even know how that happened. So thank you everyone that tuned in. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Cribby. I just love that you shared your awesomeness with us today. And people watching, if there's any ideas you have, funny things that you're like, oh, that would be good, or somebody we should talk to, or something like that, we actually have our own Twitter, which is pretty exciting. So it's at Camel MS Mondays. Okay, so that's Camel, CAMLEMS Mondays. And just reach out to us, give us some ideas.
If you've got ideas of people that we should talk to that would be great to share anecdotes, hacks, pearls of wisdom that help us middle school educators out. We would love to hear from you. For now, that's it. Join us next month. Our show is February 28th, same time, same place. Thank you for joining us today.